Biggest benefit and really the most exciting thing is that everybody's going to have control over their own money. They're going to be able to manage it differently. They're going to be able to find new ways to make money without necessarily, having to do just a 9 to 5 job. Now, yeah, you take that 9 to 5 job, but then you could compound that on these other ways to generate revenue that never really been available to people before. And I think that that's probably the most exciting thing is that the whole world of finance is about to change. My name is Brent Fisher. I am the general partner of DPI Capital. What we do is invest in the Arch Network ecosystem. So we invest in projects that are building on Arch Network. Our hope is to give it the foundation to be successful protocol. We believe in the Bitcoin denominated yield and the native Bitcoin aspect of it. So we want to invest in all of the DeFi dApps that are going to help make it successful. So the borrow and lending Atara, which is similar to Aave on Ethereum, the DEX Saturn, which is similar to Uniswap on Ethereum. So what we're doing is building out these products that can create Bitcoin denominated yield on the Arch ecosystem, and that's what we focus on. The whole is Bitcoin, native Bitcoin denominated yield. So for a long time, well, really since the inception of Bitcoin, Bitcoin has really been an unproductive asset. Because of that, really all you could do is hold it or sell it. And therefore, you have this emotional tie to it. And if you do sell it, then you miss out on the gains later on down the road. And a lot of people, including myself, have sold a lot of Bitcoin early on. I've been in this since 2013. And, I'm not embarrassed to say that I've even sold Bitcoin at a couple $100, which, looking back now, I wish I wouldn't have. But, I think everybody that's been in the space early on has had to sell because there was no real way to make yield. What Ethereum did was open up the opportunity to make yield on chain, and Bitcoin never had a programmable layer. And so what Arch is doing is building a programmable layer so we can now build DeFi products on Bitcoin itself and settle on Bitcoin natively. So that's really big. It's the first one of its kind. And it can unlock Bitcoin into turning it into a productive asset from an unproductive asset. I think that you have just this fundamental need for income from a basic standpoint to eat, to pay their mortgage, to pay their car payment, but you don't want to sell the asset. So, I think on like a basic standpoint, it really is just a means to generate revenue for yourself. On an institutional level, it is to generate gains. So all institutions, are judged by the gains that they create. And Bitcoin, the only gain is CAGR, which goes up and down on any given year. But if you can generate yield, now you have something that you can tie to the success of your fund or your firm. And that's super important for an asset to become productive. And I think that's really what we need for Bitcoin to do is become productive, create revenue, create income, and create gains. Up until this new administration, how does regulation affect the space? A lot. I think that regulation affects all things in the financial sector. Really affects all things, right? So, but up until this new administration, regulation has been really restrictive. Unfortunately, there was a very gray mindset that was taken by the SEC and by the last administration. And so it was hard to build product and to, do anything that actually was productive because at the end of the day, you just didn't know if what you were doing was going to be legal or not. Now with this new administration, I think they've opened the doors for innovation, which is really important for us as a country. And I think as the technology itself, blockchain needs the opportunity to innovate without restrictions and without fear. And so regulation, deregulation, which I think is where we're going, or guidelines, I think are really important. So then we know what we can build without getting in trouble. And then therefore we can gear our productivity in building these products and services around something that we know can not just be successful, but can last for a long time. Yeah, so institutions generally in the financial sector want to make things difficult for people to understand, and that's how they kind of cornered their market. A lot of the concepts of traditional finance and institutional finance is really basic, but they tie a lot of jargon and a lot of rules and regulation around it and kind of keep people out. And they created a walled garden. What happened with institutions' slow adoption, one of the reasons is the fear that this is something that could eliminate their current business models. And it definitely can, even if they do adopt it, there is some, some risk for them cannibalizing what they currently have. But I also think that there was just a lack of understanding of really what this was. And now, as we have more institutions adopting it and utilizing it, it's becoming table stakes that you have to have this as part of your institutional game plan. It has to be built into the roadmap. And so I think you're starting to see institutions not only adopt it, but use it as a differentiator. Will that last long? No, it'll probably be table stakes here soon, but right now it is a differentiator for the ones that are adopting it early. What's the benefit of doing this on Bitcoin? There's a couple reasons. One, Bitcoin is the most unique asset in the world that it doesn't have anybody controlling it. So I think that that's big. No sovereign government. There's no bank. There's no institution. And so it is really the people's money, which makes it unique in that sense. It also has scarcity, right? There's only going to be a certain amount ever minted. And I think that that's when you compare that to something like other currencies, like even the dollar, where they're creating dollars, printing dollars all the time. The idea of scarcity is really something that people are starting to understand a lot more, especially when it comes to inflation, deflation. Those two things probably are the biggest reasons, but if you want to add something, it is proof of work, because I think proof of work is probably the truest form of truth. And I think that truth and trust is what Bitcoin is really anchored on. And therefore, it's probably going to end up being the most valuable asset in the world someday here soon. I think really what excites me, and lately I've been thinking a lot more about this, is that the democratization of money. I think I have a decent net worth because I built a company and sold it, but I have a lot of my net worth in JP Morgan, and I have money managers that manage everything. But anytime I want to do anything, I have to call them up. They send me documents that I have to sign. They move it over. I'm not even really privy to the actual moment they move it over. Sometimes, I want to change my mind at the last minute. I'd have to call them. Everything is antiquated right now, where in this new modern on-chain finance world, I would have more control. And yes, I do have a higher net worth because I built a company and sold it, but everybody's going to have more control. So I think that that's going to be the biggest benefit, and really the most exciting thing is that everybody's going to have control over their own money. They're going to be able to manage it differently. They're going to be able to find new ways to make money without necessarily, having to do just a 9-to-5 job. Now, yeah, you take that 9-to-5 job, but then you could compound that on these other ways to generate revenue that never really been available to people before. And I think that that's probably the most exciting thing, is that the whole world of finance is about to change, and it's about to be the people's world of finance. I actually am investing in a company called the People's Reserve, and that's a great name. And it's Bitcoin-backed mortgages, it's early entry Bitcoin bonds, but it's ways for people to utilize Bitcoin as a way to change their life and personal finance. And I think that that's probably the most exciting thing about crypto, generally speaking, but especially Bitcoin. So that's what I'm excited about.